What is going on, dear spirit speakers? Thank you so much for watching. Today I'm going to discuss, or not really discuss, I'm going to explain why this F tier monstrosity is in F tier, because I mean all over the Spirit Island community everybody is complaining about the Shadows Flicker like Flame, why he is so terrible, but nobody has really like discussed some arguments, some reasons why he is so terrible. That's what I'm going to do today. Okay, let's start at the top of the Spirit panel, his growth patterns. Shadows is a 0-1-1, so he's placing presence on two of his options, but not placing presence on reclaim. That's totally fine. I mean, just take a look at other 0-1 spirits. Whirlwind kinda looks the same, right? Yeah, but the major problem is Shadows has terrible tracks. I mean, look at this. Zero. So, turn 1 of Shadows is always the same. You choose your third growth option. You go from bottom track, and you play Favor Scroll 2, plus any of these two. Mostly Mantle of Dread, because you have to solve land. That's the turn 1. You are forced to pick this option if you want to play 2 cards. Because if you go like this, you can only play 1 card, and you've only got 1 energy. So the build is very restricted. Whirlwind has way more options. Whirlwind can go for turn 1, blowing everything away. Whirlwind can go top track, gaining a power card. Whirlwind can go bottom track, gaining a power card. Whirlwind can do everything. And on top of that, look at these tracks. I mean, we've got and a 6-5, alright, and start at 0-1. Whirlwind ends at 6-5 and starts at 1-1. Not that much of a difference, right? But take a look at this. Okay? Then take a look at Whirlwind's tracks. Every single spot on this track matters. This unlocks the first tier of the innate. This unlocks the second. This unlocks the third. This unlocks the fourth. Shadows has this extremely awkward dead spot here, which just doesn't make any sense, because you need this innate is already really terrible. Why? I'm gonna explain it later, but this spot makes no sense. Why would you take this spot? It takes 2 turns, so you have to take 2 total turns to grow and get 1 additional card play. And then you can finally access this innate, which is not even that great. And on top track, you have to start at 0 energy per turn. This is one of the only spirits I know that starts with 0 energy per turn. One of the few spirits. And yeah, that's kinda it for the tracks. Let's look at the innate. This innate can gather 1 explorer, its first tier, and you're pretty much gonna be stuck at this tier for until turn 1 you go like this, turn 2 you go like this, and you probably reclaim, then you go like this. So turn 4 probably you're gonna hit the second tier, so you're going to hit the first tier for 3 turns. Okay, what can this innate do? It can gather 1 explorer, so it's pretty great, right? You're gonna stop a build. So let's take a look into England. The only 2 explorers where you can disrupt an explorer against England is jungle and mountain. Right here and right here. All other spots in the island, disrupting 1 explorer won't help at all, because there are 2 adjacent buildings. And board B is an exception. Take a look at board C here. You've only got this wetland. All other lands are adjacent to at least 2 buildings. So that means into England, this innate is pretty useless. And of course later in the game there are going to be way more buildings, so it's going to be even more useless. Okay, let's take a look at every single adversary matchup. Okay, we've got Prussia. You have 4 lands. How are you going to stop 4 lands? First thing, maximum you're going to stop 2. 1 with your so there is a nasty aspect. 1 with Mantle of Dread, 1 with Gather 1 Explore. So pretty difficult, right? Next one you're gonna stop 1 land, or not stop, but Stop one, clear one land with Concealing Shadows plus Favor Cold 2. Favor's Cold 2. It's gonna take 2 Blight of first Ravage cycle no matter what. I've already discussed England. Let's take a look at Sweden. Sweden has a ton of stunning buildings, and you have no card in your entire hand, except for your last threshold of your innate, to stop a city when it is ravaging. And not even a town when it's ravaging. Maybe town you can push it, but city you can't do anything against it. And when the city is ravaging against Sweden, immediately 2 Blight. 0 counterplay. France, you've always got 2 explorers. And you've got explorers flying around everywhere on the entire island. So pushing 1 explorer won't really help in the long run. Of course, against France, the second tier is extremely strong. But the first 2 turns you're gonna suffer. And this town count is gonna hit you really hard because you're not actually killing stuff. Habsburg monarchy lifestyle colony. How are you going to stop a loss condition when it comes down? Not really, right? Just tanking it. And also you gather 1 explorer away. And then they just gather a town in again. So yeah, self-explaining. Russia, you can actually win the game against Russia. You can win against Russia with every single spirit in the entire game. But we've got a really tough time. Because every single explorer matters. And you gather around explorers, you have to be really careful where you gather them. So it's winnable, but very, very hard. Okay, Scotland, pretty self-explaining. They explore a town on the coast. And then they build a city. And if your entire trade hub is filled, your entire coast is filled, you lose. Right, or you're not going to lose them. Like higher, when there's a ton of players on the board, you're not going to lose because the other players have also got a coast, but you're going to pressure that loss condition very hard because you're not going to have any tools against the coastal cities, except for letting the blight go through and letting the hand take no damage. But then there's going to come 2 blight down because, or maybe even 3, there's already blight in the land because of Scotland 5 rule. HME, I've actually not played HME that much, but lands with 3 invaders always ravaging, or not always, but actually always ravaging with the Salt Deposits card sounds pretty horrible again to Shadows because it's such a low action economy. And also we're exploring 2 explorers every time, so kind of the same like France. Pushing 1 explorer won't really help that much. So yeah, that's for the matchups, pretty much terrible across the entire scout. And what I should also mention is this rule is extremely energy consuming. You're not going to play majors, even on this spot, because you have to use this rule for these 2 cards in order to make use of them. So you're going to be very energy starved. And when you take this option, you're not gonna reclaim or draft a power card. So yeah, pretty tough energy income. Okay, another really sad thing of the spirit is take a look at the elements. 4 moon, 2 fire, 3 air. I'm not hitting this threshold. So you have to draft a moon fire card, which is not all, like it's pretty much going to happen most of the time, but you're bound to drafting on element, and I don't really know any spirit that has to draft on element to make use of an innate, because this is the only ability in your entire kit, except for maybe crops with an fate, but pretty awkward card in my opinion, where you can kill cities. And you have to draft on element to do it. So yeah. And if in order to hit this threshold, you pretty much have to go to 4 plays, unless you get an elemental boon, and nobody is going to give Shadows an elemental boon. So turn 4 turns, plus 1 or 2 reclaims, plus maybe presence from top track, probably presence from top. So yeah, at turn 7 or 8, you're going to kill a city in the fast phase. What the heck? And if you're saying, but Shadows can generate a ton of fear, like he has 8 fear across his cards, plus up to 5 fear on this innate, That's 13 fear in total. That must be super busted, right? No, it isn't, because let's compare him to Bringer. Imagine Bringer drafts, let's say, where is it? Let's say Bringer drafts Sea Monsters. Bringer drafts Sea Monsters. Okay, he's got 4 beasts. Or yeah, let's say 4 beasts. And a fuck ton of invaders. So let's say there are 3 cities. You've got 4 beasts. That's 8 fear. Plus 3 damage per beast. So these cities are all gonna die. That's an additional 15 fear. 23 fear for 5 energy. Heck no. So Bringer can go do this. But Shadows can't really. Because he's capped on his fear. He can draft mages that generate fear. But compared to Bringer can play a single card and generate dozens of fear. Shadows has to just normally play the major. So he's a fear spirit. He can generate fear, but all of his uniques are pretty much awkward, except for maybe Mantle of Dread. But the rest is pretty awkward. So he isn't really generating that much fear. He's just drafting cards that are stronger than his main hand. So he's not really generating that much fear. And when he hits his innate, which is going to be turn 7 or 8, yeah, he's finally going to generate 5 fear. Oh, crazy. Okay, let's get to the positive part. I think they have done a great job designing every single of its aspects. I'm gonna group them in 3 groups. First of all, these 3. All of these 3 are replacing this ignore range somehow, some way. This can move presence, so basically personal range on everything. But all the others can say ignore range in some way, which I think is extremely happy for the spirit. They get rid of this on energy. So these aspects, they've done a great job designing them. Reach is very simple, but still very effective in my opinion. So when you hand out shadows to another player, just give him reach. That's at least what I do. Foreboding is extremely interesting, creates a lot of different opportunities in the game to make some crazy plays, but doesn't really fix the core issue of the spirit. Amorphous, again, a little bit like reach, it's just gonna move some presence. This kind of reminds me of Shroud a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at Madness. I really think Madness is well designed. Because it says when you add presence during growth, you may also add 1 strife, so you can actually make some plays. You can, for example, let's say there's I've got pressure loaded up here. There's a land coming up. That's a terrible example on board A, but what you're going to do is you let the land build, gather the Dahan in, and then you're going to place a total of 2 presents, strifing all of this. Then eventually you're going to clear the land. Oh, I love TTS. You're going to clear the land and take no blight. I'm not going to take blight. So this is actually an aspect that lets us solve lands. The second part sucks. When a presence is destroyed, presence is just simply killed. So it doesn't really make any infinite range compared to all other aspects. So you have to place presence there, and then presence is killed, and you generate fear. Terrible. But this thing is great, really great, because it lets you, as you can see here, you have these dark fire elements. You get basically swapping, or can vice versa, moon and fire. So this tier of the innate is very easy to hit. It's essentially now a 3/3/2 threshold, so you can execute it with 3 cards. You've actually got the 3 cards. Yeah, you have to draft. I think you can play Mantle, Unquenchable, and then then you're missing an air, and then you're missing. Okay, yeah, you cannot really threshold unless you draft the perfect element, unfortunately. But it's way easier to get the second tier, which is extremely crucial into some adversaries and increases the field generation. Additionally, you get that infinite range kind of by when the presence is destroyed, you can just push it, so you can go onto the lands, let the presence be destroyed and just push it instead of destroying it, which kind of fixes the energy economy because you don't have to pay energy. Additionally, you gain unquenchable flames. What the heck? Get unquenchable flames. You can add Badlands and spot the team with it. And you can, it's just a 5th card in your hand, so you can delay your reclaim maybe, and then indirectly gain more presence on your checks. And it's also the one Moonfire you need to hit your innate. So I really like this aspect. But this aspect doesn't fix the fact that you're still the 0-1-1 and have this really awkward growth pattern. So I'm currently working on an aspect. I'm not going to reveal it today because it's not finished probably. I have to play this a little bit. I'm working on an aspect for shadows that fixes this growth pattern a little bit and also fixes this rule and also fixes your hand a little bit. I'm gonna remove Concealing Shadows and replace it with a card. I'm gonna call this aspect Shadows of the Pets. And if you subscribe and like this video now, you're going to see this aspect tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.